Well, welcome everybody. This is a add-on, so I want to add some perspective to a previous video, two previous videos that I shared about a space catastrophe. This applies specifically to Artemis. It could be any of the Artemis missions. There's up to 5 currently. From what God had shared with me, there's going to be a space catastrophe during one of them. I want to add some perspective, just to add more information to this. What I had shared, this is the prophetic word God had given me, was going to happen, is that there was going to be, God had showed me a picture of an eyeball, and the eyeball morphed into a launch of a rocket. The launch of this rocket is going to be significant, obviously, because all eyes will be on this launch. It will be, whether it's, it seems to me it could be Artemis 2 or Artemis 3, and that's why I'm doing this, or 4, or 5 even. But this is why I'm doing this video right now, to just before Artemis 2 takes off. I want to just share some historical perspectives so that the actual prophetic word given to me after all eyes being on the launch is that the word God had given to me. The first word he said was, I don't know what we're going to call it. The second word is, so these are things they're going to say about the actual mission when this catastrophe happens. The second one is, we've not learned our lesson. Get lost, go missing. The third thing they're going to say is, mission lost, go missing. The fourth thing they're going to say is, mission lost, go missing eventually. And the last thing they're going to say is, Elon is going to comment on the matter and say, looks like it's not there, stinks. I had also referred to the fact that this could be crude catastrophes as well. So this could involve pilots, NASA pilots, and or it could involve, some of these Elon's, starships could have humanoid robots on them as well. So it felt to me, I'm not saying it for sure was, but it felt to me that during the, when God had given me the word, is that there was some loss. And it could well be crew or the robots being lost. I want to give some historical perspective because I started looking it up, and some stuff came in my feed about Apollo 13, and I had seen just in my feed came a short video about the Artemis 2, and that they were going to have it kind of showed just how everything was going to be deployed, all the ships were going to be deployed, all that stuff. Artemis 2 has a very similar profile. Not exactly the same, but it's a similar profile to how they actually went to the moon, how Apollo went to the moon, and specifically Apollo 13, because Apollo 13 was supposed to land on the moon, but instead they had problems and it ended up just circling around the moon and coming back. By the grace of God, these people lived. I mean, unbelievable, the engineers that helped these people to live. They shouldn't have returned, but because they were so creative in solutions, that these people actually allowed to return, and that was for sure by the hand of God. But so I'd noticed that it has a very similar return path as what the Apollo 13 did, and so I want to kind of go over Apollo 13's problems, and as well talk about Artemis 2 and different things that are going on that could affect this catastrophe. And the first thing I want to say is that obviously because of China's advancement in copying of Elon's landing techniques and stuff on the actual starships, and a lot of information he's trying not to give out because he doesn't want them to copy it and be the first ones to the moon or to Mars because of copying and that kind of thing. He's obviously pushing these things and there's obviously some political things with NASA, between NASA and between SpaceX. So there's a lot of real quick adaptations and things they're doing on the fly that really maybe not could be tested properly. And so that could be a lot of the problem, especially when it comes to the Starship with crew and all that stuff. So they're pushing really fast these advancements. That could lead to problems, this catastrophe that God had spoken of. If you read even the crew, these men and women are very capable people. When you actually read their bios and all that stuff, these people are very accomplished. The people that were involved, the astronauts. So that could be a problem. And then you look at historically and what is going on currently with Orion capsule, is that there are issues with, they've had heat shield issues. So this thing could have problems coming back to Earth even. because they're just pushing it through, and they know that there was some issues, but they think it's going to be okay. So it appears that they're going to go with what they have, even though the last time it had some problems, but they obviously didn't disintegrate the capsule coming back into the ocean from the heat. And so, there's obviously some issues they had with Artemis 1 that they really haven't corrected. And the last thing I want to say is just reference to Apollo 13. Because they're flying a similar flight path, if you read about Apollo 13, they had some mission problems. And what actually happened was they had an oxygen tank that during production was dropped. They actually dropped it on the floor. And it damaged a fitting that was on this, that was attached to the oxygen tank. And so as they were in space, the oxygen tank, because of this flaw they had in the fitting or weakness, it ended up blowing the oxygen tank out the I think it was the lunar module, and ended up blowing the side off the lunar module. And so another tank was damaged, and then they had a lot of issues with some panels that they had, some power panels and stuff. So it crippled their power and their life support. They barely got back alive. I mean, it was crazy how easily these people could have died and either froze to death, all these different situations that might have been burned up back on entry to the atmosphere, all kinds of issues, or just ran out of oxygen. They had these issues. So it just reminded me there could be things with Artemis that these issues, previously known issues or past issues from Apollo 13, could come back to be problems, or they could have a similar type problem, because obviously from the word I had said that, from the word God had given me, is that I said, we've not learned our lesson, get lost, go missing. So I'm not sure what this refers to. When, God had told me, we've not learned our lesson, get lost, go missing. So what was the lesson we were supposed to learn? I don't know. It could be one of those things. It seems likely, or it could be something else. I don't know. But it seems like, the way they're doing things isn't 100% right, and that could lead to a catastrophe. Just want to add perspective and share these things, and I hope it doesn't. I hope people don't die, or that people can be saved or whatever if there is an issue. But we should be praying for that. Anyways, I just wanted to add some more information, and I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Talk to you soon.
A lot of time figuring out what are we going to do if we lose communication with Earth, which is a very real possibility. Probably won't happen, but it's plausible that we can't talk to Earth, and we're having trouble with the spacecraft. How are we going? What are the bare basics to give us a fighting chance to still be breathing and to hit somewhere on the planet, and ideally hit the Pacific Ocean? Obviously, I've had that conversation with my wife and my children. Still a little bit more work to do there. What I want most is for them to know when I launch, because that will be a very acute, stressful moment, that they're going to be okay. If we have a loss of crew on the mission, that, it'll be tough. And they'll go through a process and mourning, but we're going to set it up so that they're going to be okay.
Jeremy Hansen knows the risks that come with traveling into deep space. He talks openly about how astronauts accept they might not return home. But he's ready.
Welcome to our home.
And he's done pretty much everything humanly possible to prepare for this mission. It's a moment Hansen has been dreaming about since he first fell in love with space as a kid, growing up on his family farm outside London, Ontario. In just a few weeks, if all goes according to plan, a rocket will carry Hansen and his 3 crewmates to a place where humanity hasn't gone in more than 50 years, orbiting the moon.
3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
There it goes. That's awesome.
Until now, this is the closest Hansen has been to traveling to space, watching the unmanned Artemis 1 mission launch from the lawn of the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.